Welcome to World Prophecy News. I'm Steve Gallimore.
And I'm Jay Gallimore. We want to start our program today talking about Voodooism and Christianity. Some of this material comes to us from Janet Chismar, senior editor of Faith Magazine. It's picked up by Crosswalk Religion News. Tells the story of being in Haiti and visiting a voodoo temple there. And at that voodoo temple, she saw the voodoo priest come out of a back room, eyes glazed over, drinking the moonshine and staggering around. She found it hard to take this man serious, but she noticed that people in the temple certainly took him serious. Scattered around that temple were toddlers, a couple of concubines, and some teenagers. But the fascinating thing that she found out was that Voodooism does not necessarily reject the Bible, Steve. In fact, they're incorporating the Bible into their work and their teaching. But this man, of course, is a spirit-possessed man, and the kids and the other people sure took him seriously and actually had some fear of this man, particularly when they saw a spirit called Leslie invade his body.
This is just one person, of course, right, that is symbolic of what's happening there in Haiti. But yeah, here was this man, and his body was being convulsed as it was being invaded by the spirit, Leslie. But this man claims great powers for himself. He says, I could make someone fall in love with you. Well, he's way ahead of most on that score. I don't know how he works that out. But anyway, he claims to have the power to do that. He also has the power to bring you large sums of money. And even through the power of Leslie, he claims that he can resurrect the dead.
Now, that's all for sale, of course, Steve, depending on how much power you want, according to this voodoo high priest. Anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000 US dollars, he says he can do this kind of thing for you, which in a place like Haiti, so devastated by poverty and ignorance and heartache and sorrow, this kind of a thing appeals to a lot of people.
Well, what's really interesting is that Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And here apparently people are spending, I say apparently because we don't actually know, but apparently people are spending large sums of money on voodoo, buying things from the spirits, casting spells on other people they don't like, those kinds of things.
Right.
And yet they're so poor they can hardly find enough to keep themselves alive.
Well, actually, some people actually say that 75% of the people in Haiti actually practice voodoo. There's another, it's kind of a proverb, says that Haiti is 70% Catholic and 30% Protestant and 100% voodoo. The tragedy of this is that whatever Christianity is there has not been able to overthrow or break the power of these evil spirits. These evil spirits are real. They can manipulate things. They can bring things about at times. But even if they were to give you wealth or money or whatever it was you wanted, in the end, they will destroy you.
Well, this one witch doctor that they were quoting from, you mentioned how that Christianity and Voodooism have been kind of intermingled there. This particular witch doctor, in quoting this article that you made reference to, says that the power I have is from God. I take my pleasure in God's Word. It is great and huge. Now, this is the way this man is quoted as talking about his religious conviction and the source of his power. So he's mixing voodoo and the Word of God together in order to gain his great power, according to him.
So actually, Steve, he sees voodooism as being the God of voodooism, being the same as the God of the Bible. Now, that is fascinating and as well as frightening, so to speak. The New Age movement here in America tends to look at the same, have the same view of these kinds of things. In fact, some years ago, the Pope of Rome invited voodoo witch doctors and other kinds of amethysts and spirit worshipers, American Indian witch doctors, medicine men, I should say, and others to pray with him. And he made an incredible statement, Steve. He said, we are all worshiping the same God. Well, I'm sorry to tell the voodoo man and the Pope that the God of the Bible is not the same as the gods of voodooism.
You know, there's a real, if you look at this historically in Haiti, the development of voodooism there,
yeah.
This is the only nation on earth that I know of that was established by making a pact with the devil.
Yeah.
Now, most nations, will claim some kind of, God has been with us in the establishment of our country. I mean, that's fairly common
Some
throughout
nobility.
the world. But here, Haiti was established by making a pact with the devil. And that pact took place on August 14, 1791. A number of the voodoo witch doctors got together and they sacrificed a black pig. And the witch doctor that led out in the sacrifice, his name was Boukman, and so this has been known then as Boukman's sacrifice. Now this was in 1791. The Haitians were able to get their independence from France in 1804. Now Haitians look back on this, and I'm using that in a general sense, but Haitians look back on this as the deliverance that came to them from the colonial power. They received their independence because of the pact on the part of the witch doctors that was made with Satan. So this nation then, in its public mind and understanding, traces its freedom back to a pact that was made with the devil. Now, once again, I don't know of any place else on earth where something like this has happened. People look at their gods and you may say, well, it's not the true God and so forth and all that's true. But I don't know of anyone that says we decided to deal with the powers of darkness, to make a pact with them so that we could get what we wanted. Yes. And this now has carried on throughout Haitian society all these years. And you look at what has happened in Haiti and you see the results of really a pact with the devil. They made a pact with the devil. And I don't want to be overly simplistic about the problems in Haiti, but I don't think that you can avoid the issue that this nation was started as a devil-worshiping nation, and they said to the devil, set us free and we'll be yours.
It's an amazing history. Well, at least there's some good movement. There, in 2004, 15,000 Christians, Protestant Christians, evangelical Christians, gathered there in Port-au-Prince, and they made a new Declaration of Independence, Steve. A new Declaration of Independence saying that we want deliverance from these evil spirits and we want the Lord to be part of our nation. At least there's some glimmers of hope here. And there are a lot of people turning to Christ because, the devil has a problem. At some point, he will cause so much misery that the human nature will cry out to the Lord, who alone can deliver them from the power of the devil. Part of this problem, though, has been this intermingling. It's highly deceptive. People thinking, well, yes, I'm a Christian. At the same time, they're worshiping demonic spirits, which the Bible condemns. Like this poor man who believes he's got the Bible in one hand and voodoo incantations in the other.
Right. Well, as you mentioned, some of the pastors, though, are beginning to see the light.
Right.
And this one pastor said Haiti is a sick nation.
It is.
And he said that we have to get back to God for deliverance from what has taken place
That's
here.
Right. Their only hope is in the Lord.
Right.
Well, material prosperity doesn't bring everything, but they don't have anything in Haiti, material or spiritual nobility.
We have another story that's kind of connected to that, but it's in the U.S.
Yes.
It's not exactly the same, but when you think about Halloween, and of course we're past Halloween, we're a number of weeks after Halloween, but when you think of Halloween, it is a time of worshiping the devil, and I don't know how you can get away from that, and I suppose we could have a long discussion about what that means.
Well, unfortunately, it'll roll around here in a few months too.
Yeah, it'll come back. But
this is an interesting one, Steve, because here we have people in this country celebrating. We have a day in the United States where people celebrate demons and witches and all that kind of stuff that's often associated with things like voodooism. But it's celebrated here with our kids of all things. And but here is a big clash down here in the South, not over Halloween per se, but over celebrating it on Sunday. It kind of sounds like that voodooism, doesn't it?
Well, this is really, really intriguing when you look at this. There have been a number of Christians that have been upset. Every few years, Halloween rolls around and it's on Sunday. And this just drives some people to no end of distraction. And we have a couple quotations from an article that we have here, which to me is really interesting. This is from My Way News. And they're quoting this one individual as being distressed over this. And it said, "It is a day for the Lord," talking about Sunday. "It is a day for the Lord, not for the devil." Now, think about the mentality of this for just a moment. You have people that are saying, okay, if we move away from Sunday, on Monday it's okay to participate with the devil.
Yeah.
but you can't do it on Sunday. There's another quotation here. You may have some more from this article. I found this so intriguing.
Go right ahead.
This one individual said, "You don't do it on Sunday. That's Christ's day. You go on Sunday. You go to church. You don't go out and celebrate the devil. That will confuse a child." Now, I suppose the child will not be confused by going out and doing the devil's thing on Wednesday, but he can't do it on Sunday. Yeah. I mean, you know, obviously the contradictions are there, and it's just... There's another issue here, of course, and this is a very clear issue. I mean, the Bible is very clear on which day is the Sabbath day. And the Bible is so plain. Saturday is the Sabbath day.
The seventh day.
The seventh day. And here you have those that have chosen to worship on a day that the Lord has not appointed. Right. But claiming that it's the Lord's day and wanting to make certain that Halloween doesn't fall on what they have self-proclaimed to be the Lord's day.
Doesn't interfere with it.
So, but however, it is okay for their children to still go out to do the devil's deed as long as it's on the day that they have not proclaimed as the Lord's day. I mean, the whole thing is confused.
Yes, for sure. Well, talking about confusing, we also have some interesting things that say teenagers, Steve, may be really hardwired for religion. In other words, that teenagers actually need religion. Now, people that look at this nation know that we are struggling. Our young people are struggling. You look at some of the counterculture things, some of the rock groups and some of the rap stuff, and it's awful. I mean, there's nothing that they want to promote, anything from murder to incest to immorality. It just the list goes on and on. And so the question is what can we do to really help teenagers today get a firm fix on who they are and where they're going? And this study was done in order to help us get a picture of that. And it's clear that what young people need is good church.
Well, this study that was done it's not really a study. I guess it's kind of an ongoing type of analysis of what can be done here. But it's done by some rather influential organizations. One is Dartmouth Medical School, another one is the YMCA, another one is the Institute for American Values. And so these people have gotten together and said, what really goes on in the mind of young people? And they've started coming up with some answers that are very intriguing.
Yeah, and here's one quote, says that religion is the key. More specifically, the religious communities that are able to transmit the beliefs, values, and morals that help young people have a sense of transcendent, an ordered universe and their own place in it. So it says the religious communities, Steve, are the ones that can help young people get a fix on where they've come from, who they are, and where they're going.
Well, there's another item that came out of the study that backs up the reason for doing this. It says one of the biggest modern parenting mistakes is not conveying to your child through both actions and words the moral, ethical, and spiritual values you believe in.
That's right. In fact,
or not having those in the first place. And so I think what they're saying is that when it comes to young people naturally are seeking for guidance. And if you don't give them guidance in the right direction, then they will have natural inclinations towards the wrong direction.
Right. Steve, what really needs to happen here is for all of us, including churches and parents, to understand that hardwired kids means that they really need relationships. They need guidance. They need guidance in the community of believers as well as with their parents in order to overcome the mischief that is being done by the media and the larger American culture today.
You know, another aspect of this whole topic is that kids that are religious are better drivers and they're more likely to wear their seatbelts. Just kind of a byproduct of what happens when kids enter into this kind of relationship.
That's true.
For World Prophecy News, I'm Steve Gallimore.
And I'm Jay Gallimore.